Hello, keyboardists. You have asked for a little bit of a cheat sheet, so we thought we would ask our most experienced Casio Privia keyboardist to give us a little bit of a demonstration on some of the best tones. So, Adam?
Hey, y'all. So starting out, there's probably a good 5 or 6 tones that I feel like are pretty important for a lot of the CCM music that we're using on a weekly basis. Some of the different sound people might have a slightly different philosophy about the types of tones that they prefer and like. I'll show you more of the ones that I've found have worked pretty good based on our space and structure, and we'll kind of go in from that space. So coming over to the keyboard as well, historically we usually try to keep the volume knob in and around quarter or above, three quarters or above in terms of sound. Once we go over to the actual sound banks, all of the sound bank options are right up in here. And then to move tones, it's up and down on these two buttons. We start out in the grand piano tone. I don't like this first tone. The one that I usually move to is just one up from this, grand piano studio. It sounds a little brighter, a little bit more polished. What I usually do on a lot of the things, since we don't usually use a lot of reverb in our mixes and things like that, is I pair it or layer it with another tone. The easiest way to do that is to hold down the next sound bank that you want to use. So I'm going to use the electric piano sound bank here. I'm going to hold it down and it'll say layer on and both will light up. Now this layered tone can change in the bank that I'm in if I want it to. The most default one that we use is standard electric piano 1. This is a really nice default piano tone for a lot of the things that you're going to be using. Sounds something like this. Just has a nice little bit more fuller, richer sound, those types of things. Additionally, what you can do for the piano tones is in this grand piano space, a space that a lot of our sound people like us to be instead is in this grand piano bright tone. It sounds a little brighter, a little more attacky, but in the terms of a full band setting, it usually works a little bit better. Similarly, I also hold this down to pair this button as such, and it will create that same good ringing tone effect. Those are most of the piano tones. If there was one more piano tone that I like to mention is there are certain songs that you want an even softer piano tone quality to it. In my experience, the one that I've found myself using is either this mellow tone option. Sounds just a lot softer, quieter for those really contemplative song moments. Additionally, I found myself using something for some of the tones that have a little bit more of that honky-tonky vibe, a little bit more attack cut, but it's not like that bright tone. Something like this LA piano has been a pretty good option as well. You don't use this one very often, but it is an option. Moving off of that...
Can we talk about electric piano solo by itself?
Yeah, electric piano solo. Best
Sometimes
option
like
that I usually use is here. A really good song example that I use just the electric piano on is God's Great Dance Floor. If we play it, sounds like this. Just really for creating those other good ones. The first electric piano tone is one of the best ones. The other one that I find myself using is option 3, the 60s electric piano. Has a really good tone as well. Sometimes you also want an even fuller electric piano tone. What you can do is you can actually pair this same patch. So I have electric piano, and then I'm going to layer it with electric piano, and it'll create an even fuller tone. As well. One of the last things to show you in the piano section is one of the most common ones that we use for prayer time, also usually in between talking points in the service and things like that. That is pairing the piano with a string pad patch. So I'm going to go back over to the piano section, take it back down to number 2, which is the one I like to use, and I'm going to go over to the string section here, holding it down to layer. And then what I'm going to do is move over until I get to number 13, warm pad. What you'll get when you see this is a nice... The piano attacks first, but then you have the pad to sustain. If you see me playing constantly on stage, this is one that I use a lot for prayer times, for more contemplative moments, those types of things.
Nice.
Few other quick options to show you as well would be that in the string section, if we need to ever double violin part, one of those types of things, I'm just usually using the stereo string sound. Something like For God's Great Dance Floor is a good option for that.
Our God, yeah.
Our God, my
yeah.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as well, just doing the pad by itself, taking it back down. This is really good for the like congregational moments, those types of things. Just really creating that moment for people to sing when everybody's off mic. It's a really nice full tone. Everything in there. A few other quick tones to show you over in our organ patch. The best ones that we use the majority of the time is option 2, jazz organ. This is what we use on a lot of the tones where organ is needed. Sounds something like this. Now, it'll sound louder. My advice is to not turn this down. The sound person will turn it down for you for the sound if it's too loud in the mix. One of the other pieces of advice that we have is when you're using organ tones, try to stay up in the G above middle C and up. Try not to go above this C here, the last full C octave on the keyboard. It gets a little too shrilly. But these 2 octaves right here are your sweet spot. Every once in a while, the song wants you to be lower in the mix. So then I'll be kind of in here in this middle C, the octave below middle C space. One other good jazz kind of organ tone that we'll use is one that kind of creates a little bit of what we call a Wurlitzer effect. It has a little bit of that kind of whirling sound. That option is here on the keyboard. Something like number 5 is a good one. Has something kind of like this. You can kind of hear that rotating effect with it.
Maybe do the drawbar too.
Additionally, if you need something that requires a really full church sounding organ sound, something like the drawbar organ in number 3 is a good one, or going all the way back through number 13 or 14 are both good options as well. Really
play
think
the,
of
play the drawbar.
the drawbar
Yeah.
one.
Oh.
One last organ tone that I like to use is called the overdrive organ. It's number 8. I'll use this on a certain few songs as well. I'm trying to think. Matt Maher specifically uses a lot of organ tones with his, and this is one that I find myself gravitating towards. Sounds something like this. It's kind of a mix between the standard kind of jazz organ and the Wurlitzer kind of rotary organ. It has just a little bit of that higher sound pitch for it. That covers a lot of the main ones. Now, there's a few other quick tones that I like to showcase as well. These are kind of what we would call like stadium anthem songs. Think of things by Phil Wickham, things by Brandon Lake, those types of things. There's a few good tones that I like to use in that. For myself, there's 2 that I find myself using pretty consistently. The first one is over in this various patch. We're going to be going down to option 31. It's called Mellow Saw Lead. I think good example, one we've been doing more recently, is Just That Good. This is a song that I'll use this kind of sound for to tone it out. It just kind of has a nice full sound, can help kind of in with the bass, especially if they have certain effects going on, electric guitar as well. You're really doubling, mirroring things. It's a really nice tone to use. The other tone that I like to use a lot was for when you need really kind of high-end, top-end type stuff. This is going to be over in the GM's patch. You're going to be going down to 101. It is called Brightness. Again, this is another tone that sounds pretty high on the top end of everything. Another good example is for God's Great Dance Floor, when we kind of go into the chorus space. In the mix of everything, what the sound people do make this sound really nice on the top end of everything. It's the thing that cuts through for some of those other tones where you really want that stadium kind of popping vibe. You'll hear it in a lot of songs from Passion, from Brandon Lake, from Phil Wickham. They're using some combination between one of these two sounds. Outside of that, there are other tones that are used more sparingly. My advice is to say, if you have time, sometimes get to practice a little early, mess around with some of the sound banks. If you really listen to the songs ahead of time, some of the songs are buried kind of in the mix, but what's nice is there's so many resources out, especially from praise charts. If you kind of Google, like, hey, how do you play like this Elevation Worship song on piano? Elevation Worship has a lot of resources for piano parts. People have playthroughs for that. Even if you're not necessarily used to listening or knowing how to read music, they usually break out a full keyboard view with exactly where your fingers need to be and everything, which is pretty great to get some of the bits down, especially those little lead lines and those types of things. But this covers a lot of the main ways to kind of do the tones, everything like that. There's one last thing I can show you. It's how you can actually split the keyboard fully. So let's say, for example, that for the majority of the song, I know up here I want to have like a piano, an electric piano sound. But then let's say lower down here, I want to have just this really like big bassy synth type sound or something. What I'll utilize is the split function, which on the keyboard is over here. You'll hold down this split button so it gets the split point, which it'll show you right here. From the split point, what you'll do is you will select on the keyboard where you want the split point to be. Usually you'll select it somewhere kind of in this range. So for me, I'll just say this C octave below the middle C, and it changes to where I was. If I went up to E, it changes back there. I'll change it to C. So it's set. Now I'll hit the split button. What it'll do is it will have the main tone that I have, and this becomes the tone that stays up here. It's this tone that stays on the right side of the split. Then you have to set the tone for the other one. You can change it to any bank that you want, any space that you need, any tone that you want. For the time being and for the sake of this tutorial, I'll leave it on acoustic bass. So it'll stay down here. But up here, I have the more piano part going. So this gives you an option to try to have both of those in space. Outside of that, that's the most kind of basics for everything that you might need. If you have any questions, myself, Mike Westendorf as well, able to help answer a lot of the questions for you too. But hopefully this will give you a good kind of key for a lot of the main basics that the keyboardists are using with the Privia piano for worship.